Oh, welcome to Flight Past. We're in the Huey here over South Belgium, and we've just flown over Genappe, and we are talking about Wellington's retreat from Quatre Bras to the battlefield site of Waterloo on the 17th of June. You can see down below here, this is we're coming over the town of Genappe, and we've been talking about the rearguard action, one that Lord Uxbridge was conducting with the British cavalry and Major MacDonald and his Royal Horse Artillery. And we know a lot about this because Captain Mercer wrote a book about his experiences at Waterloo. And so we have the French coming through Genappe here, which is a bit of a bottleneck. There's a brook stream goes through here, narrow streets, and the British managed to, and the rear guard managed to hold up the French at this point. And remember, the skies have opened, it's raining, and we've got live weather on in the simulator, and we might get a storm later, which will be quite cool. Now, and we also notice as well in the last stream that we're currently flying over satellite imagery here, and just to the north of Genappe is where the Microsoft Flight Simulator's photogrammic imagery begins. And on that note, if you want to fly with me, I'm on the European East server, European West server. You'll find me flying around Genappe at the moment. So there's been a little bit of a panic, and there's been a forced kind of rearguard action here at Genappe because essentially the cavalry have pulled back from Quatre Bras, and they've now bumped up against the retreating columns of infantry. The rear guard of the infantry is the Brunswickers, and they're getting a little bit nervous because the infantry aren't moving quick enough, and they're the ones who are going to be taking the French sabre, as it were, up the bottom. You can see just here below us now the line of photogrammic imagery, and we're now into the good stuff, as they call it. We're heading, as you can see just up there where those light patches are, that's where Waterloo is itself. Now Uxbridge is in charge of the sort of this rearguard action, and he writes a couple of letters concerning this. He says that the retreat continued at a slow pace and with the most perfect regularity. We effected the retreat with trifling loss, and thus ended the prettiest field day of cavalry and horse artillery that I ever witnessed. So that's Lord Uxbridge's comments on this rearguard action. Now we now follow the path that the British take. We'll fly up. Let's just fly up the road first, and we'll see if we can point out a few places. Places we're going to be looking for is one called Mont St Jean. I believe that is a place where Ney had his headquarters. We'll go past the Belle Alliance, and we'll have go up to the ridge of Mont St Jean, and we'll then probably just jump out of the helicopter, have a little recap of that. So let's follow the route then. Let's follow Mercer. So after this engagement, he's essentially run out of ammunition. Most of the ammunition has gone back. He had about 50 rounds, and so he continues at a pace now, returning. And because the roads are awash, gunpowder's being difficult to fire from muskets. So it's essentially just the horses and sabers that are being used here. It's difficult to cross the countryside, but we're going to follow the route then that the Allied Dutch army takes. So it follows this road here. And we're going to try and find the first place, which is called Maison de Roi. Now, I'm going to just pause there because I have no idea where that is. So let's see if we can see it on the map. So we've just come through Genappe. We're coming out this side here. And we are looking for anything that says Maison de Roi. There's a Chemin de la Maison de Roi. That's my best French. So we can assume it's somewhere in this area here. So when we get just before Place Noire, the road should take a little right, and we should have a little look on the left there, and there should be the Maison de Roi. Let's get rid of that map and carry on. See if I can slow this down a little bit. So I think this is where the road bends to the right, and I think then we're looking for a place somewhere here. Yeah, this is the actual battlefield site itself. We've got Hougoumont below us. So we're going to get very familiar with this battlefield after the end of this series, so don't worry. But this is essentially the right-hand flank of the Allied position. I'm going to stick in the helicopters to show some skills. And so Maison de Roi. I believe it's somewhere over here. Could be that. That might be it. Okay, let's just pause here, jump out. It's a big old place. Looks modern, maybe. If anybody knows, that doesn't look, that looks modern to me. Could be there. Let's see what Google says. Maison. say they go past it on the in the diary. So if you're going past it, it sounds like it's actually on the road. Okay, yeah, it's on the road itself. So the Maison de Roi is just before where it turns. So we're looking probably this place here. Now, I'm not sure which buildings are contemporary, but one of these buildings is, or the whole of it is called Maison de Roi. What does that say? Not easy to spot what that says. But essentially, I think one of these places is Maison de Roi, which becomes Ney's place where he stays the night before. And we just want to look now at the farmhouse. I think it's Caisson farmhouse. Just forgive me while I it's known as the Napoleon's last headquarters, which I think is a little bit further down the road here. Essentially might be this place here. I think this is it somewhere in here. So I believe this is there's two places here. There's this one here, which possibly is Napoleon's last headquarters. And then you have Ney, I believe, was staying somewhere up here at the Maison de Roi. We shall come back and find these places later on. And let's jump back in the helicopter. So we can see it here now. This is Maison de Roi here, and this is the, I think it's called Caisson. I'll have to check that. This is where Napoleon would stay prior to the battle. So let's fly along the road now. Mercer's in the rear guard, and he describes passing the Belle Alliance, and Belle Alliance is like a sort of an inn on the south side of the battlefield. And he moves up across to a position. He calls it a great position on the opposite hill, and he took towards the top of a old gravel pit. Behind this position, he describes a hedge, and this hides his view of the rest of the field. So he's coming along this road here. And we're coming up now on La Belle Alliance, which is the building here, just there, I believe. Oh no, sorry, this one here. This is La Belle Alliance, and crosses this, which is essentially the battlefield of Waterloo, and he'll come up this ridge here, and he describes an old gravel pit, which is just where these trees are here. He describes how when he gets to the top of that ridge, that he has he turns back, and the British cavalry rearguard are crossing the valley, slight valley, and he describes how the French cavalry squadrons assemble on the opposite heights. So let's just pause here and we can jump out. So just follow him here. We'll come back up to La Belle Alliance, which is this building here. Does it have writing on it? Nope. He comes across this valley here. Now, the things you've got to remember with Waterloo is it's all relative. We talk valleys, we talk ridges. You would have to have a very good mind for topography. You'd have to almost have fought a lot in the peninsula to see the advantages of this battlefield. It's has changed because of that monument there. It's if you can imagine that amount of earth put back along the ridge, you'll probably get a better sense of that ridge. But this is the journey that Mercier talks. He says he comes down here and he crosses this valley, and he says it's a great position. So he'll be moving up here. This is La Haissante, and what you get here is on the right hand side is probably where this monument is here. Is a quarry, a sand pit. He'll come up onto this ridge here. Now this is the road on the top of the ridge, and he says that there was a hedge up here. When he looks back this way, he describes that the French cavalry would line up on the opposite heights. So we're talking back down that road there, over by La Belle Alliance. He describes then opening fire on these squadrons. He calls it a range of around about 1,200 yards. And once he does this fire, he describes how there's a faded heavy cannonade from behind the hedge rolled along the ridge, revealing that they had joined up with the rest of the army. So he had got to this position here and then turned around to fire a place. And at the same time, he realizes that the British army and the Allied army have also lined up on this ridge here. And they answer with a categorically kind of signal to the French to say, this is as far as you're going today. This is where we will stop. Okay. So you can see this is the position where they get to. You can see the importance then that essentially losing the 3 hours in the morning made to the French in their pursuit. You also have the weather that's helped Wellington get back to this position. It also means that at this time in the early evening, it feels darker because of the heavy overcast sky, and when the Allied troops arrive here, they're soaking wet and tired. So let's just show you the whole route that they've taken today. So we're going back. This is La Belle Alliance, and we're going now. We got Place Noire. We will talk about this place as well. We get to the headquarters of Ney, which is this place here, Maison de Roi. We have the farmhouse. I believe it's called the Caisson, but check me on that. This is here. This will be Napoleon's final headquarters. And we're coming then back down the road here. This is where the British Army has retreated during the day. Interesting enough, on the retreat from Genappe, the colonel of the 23rd Light Dragoons, is bringing up the rear, and the staff officer of Wellington's comes up and encourages him to trot, and he turns around to him and says the 23rd Dragoons should never trot before the enemy. And that was mentioned in a letter by Lieutenant Banner of the 23rd Light Dragoons. And we carry on. So this is we're back into Genappe, and then eventually we come out. So this is a good point to take a break, and this is Quatre Bras itself. So we started off in the morning here, and a quick recap. Ney thinks that Wellington is still here. Wellington has got 40,000 troops. There's some more coming this way. At around about 8 o'clock in the morning, rumours are coming that the Prussians in this direction have been defeated. So Wellington then starts to send out messages to the troops coming this way to pull back to the ridge at Mont St Jean, and he also sends his troops back this way, gives them a head start, leaves the cavalry and some Royal Horse Artillery here as a rear guard, with Brunswickers being the sort of final last infantry. Napoleon, after a pretty slack morning, gets up after reviewing the battlefield at Ligny and giving orders to Grouchy to continue his pursuit, to continue the pursuit of the Prussians in that direction, presumably towards Gembloux, but basically to find out where they are. He then brings his the corps of Lebau and the Imperial Guard over here. So the French are joining up with Ney. Ney's got de Erlon's corps, Rail's corps. He'll then have Lebau's corps, and the Imperial Guard will join here. And Napoleon, when he gets here, is angered that Ney hasn't done anything, and the skillful withdrawal from Quatre Bras has basically flummoxed Ney. Napoleon, coming up this road here, realizes that it's a rear guard and starts the pursuit, and the British then start to pull back, probably around about half a mile from Quatre Bras, so we're talking possibly in this area here. The heavens open, a thunderstorm comes down, making it difficult to fire weapons, and so it's mainly pursuit, and any skirmishes are now cavalry using the sabre. They follow down this road here, and they come back, and we get to a place called Genappe. Now, Genappe's a small town. Quite a lot of this isn't here in that time. This area here probably was. Narrow streets, sort of a small brook, Lys crossing, and this is a bottleneck for the British Army, as it will be for a bottleneck for the French on the evening of the 18th, 19th. This is where then a series of skirmishes, melees, blocking motions, artillery to and fro happens at this place, because basically they've caught up with the retreating infantry column of Wellington. Mercer's artillery runs out of ammunition. There's rockets fired here, possibly the first example of a casualty using rockets, and eventually they pull back from this position here and carry on back up this road, and eventually they get to a pre-planned position south of Brussels on the far side of the forest. So this is the forest here. A lot of it has been removed. A lot of it is and now houses and suburbs. But as you can see over there, this is a great forest called, I think it's a Soignes, and this is the first sort of open space after it. Waterloo itself is here. The village of Waterloo is a little bit set back. There we go. Waterloo is actually here. But this place is actually called Mont St Jean, and so this is the position that Wellington chooses. So Mercer is the one who comes up, turns around when he gets up here, fires back at the cavalry that's approaching, who are on this heights on the other side, and then he hears this big cannonade going all the way across here, and that's when the French realize that the British have decided to stop here for the night. They're not sure exactly if they're going to remain here, but they can see in the distance behind them the forest. So Napoleon says it's a poor position to have your back to a forest. It's hard to control troops in trees, and so he's not sure whether this is just a temporary position, but it's too late by this point and too wet for there to be a battle. His troops are too far behind, and they're all coming up from behind to get up to here. So this makes it a good place to pause for the evening. And so here is where Wellington will stop, and he is essentially waiting now for news of the Prussians. He will stand here, but he needs to know what's happening over there. Over there in the distance is Wavre. We can just do a quick flyover. This is the distance between the Allied Anglo Dutch army and the Prussians. So the Prussians are in this region here, being harassed by Grouchy. Grouchy's come in from the south east here. So this is where the Prussians are on that night. And as we'll see, the message comes across. Gnausenau has found out where his ammunition is and his supplies are. He's got his corps over there. They've had about a day's rest because they've got their, some of them have got there early on the day. So you can see now the distance. You've got the battle, the Waterloo over here, and you have Wavre here. Isn't that great to be able to see that distance? The message comes across to Wellington saying that the Prussians will be coming to you tomorrow. Wellington says he will stand here if one corps of your Prussian army gets here, and they have they get the promise that that is what's going to happen. So this is the distance then that the Prussians need to do. They need to somehow get their way across over here. We'll work out where that route was, which route they took, and we're talking, as you can see, a lot more river, valleys, forests. You know, difficult, much more difficult terrain than we can see over this side, and we'll work out the route that they took to come out and essentially arrive on this battlefield. Coming across here, and essentially, spoiler alert, they're going to appear coming through here. And we'll be attacking this side. So that isn't that cool? Isn't that a cool way? And I hope that wets your whistle. On that note then, so we've finished then Wellington's retreat, and so we're talking probably in the late afternoon, early evening of the 17th. So in the next series of episodes, we'll look into the positions that the British infantry and the the Dutch and the Belgians and the Brunswickers and the Nassers, all their different positions and where they are on the battlefield. And not sure which one we're going to do first, whether we will look at the way that the Prussians come across. I think we might do that. We'll start off being a bit more Prussian-centric rather than Anglo-centric, and that might get us a better look into it. But I'll have a think, see which we do. It doesn't really matter, really. Okay, so I think I've been waffling enough now for a while. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a like, give it a subscribe, and in the next series, we're actually getting to the 18th of June itself, and we'll look at the battlefield. Such a wonderful field in terms of subtlety. It's just such a shame that this monstrosity was built on it. Even Wellington said that it had ruined his battlefield. You can actually see if let's just pause here. Sometimes with the weather, with these satellite images, you get but you can see, look at this. I think you can see where that... You can possibly see where they've probably got this, all this here, all that is historical battlefield piled up. I mean, it's hideous, isn't it? Presumably, I don't know why they even thought that was a good idea. It's just horrible. But all that soil there has to be put back, probably, to make it look like a proper ridge. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's just been taken from that area there. Ah, it's the saddest thing, isn't it? For anyone who's not familiar with the Battle of Waterloo, this is essentially the right-hand side of Wellington's position. This is the Chateau Hougoumont. We've got, if you can imagine where my camera is now, that would actually be forests, woods going out this way. There's a sort of a sunken lane behind here. And then what you have is the famous reverse slope you can see here. This is the reverse slope, essentially coming around this way. And you've got these places over here, these little villages was his left flank, and the central position was La Haye-Sainte here. So what we have on the French side is, I believe d'Erlon's corps will be over this side, and we have French attacks on this point here, and then a lot of the action then occurs in this sort of section here. There's certain phases, we'll run through them all. And check it out. Cool. Right, so on that note then, I'll leave it for today. I will be back on Tuesday for another session, and we'll carry on this this chat. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please, we're a small channel, so any like and subscribe is really, really handy, and I will see you in the next one.